Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw. It's one where you're diving, so it's underwater. So the image it's unfiltered, so it's kind of bluish. And I count one, two, three, four divers. So there's a photographer, so that's five divers. And you're probably at a depth of, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 meters, maybe 6 meters. The water is crystal clear. Unfortunately, the coral is very muted, broken, shattered. The sort of the bottom half of the image is just the seabed with brown and green and not bright, colorful coral. It's all kind of muted colors. And then the top half of the image is the divers doing some kind of work. You're wearing gloves and you're kind of going through the water. So what is this image about?
So this is in the shallow water, just in front of Trawangan Dive, the dive shop where I usually teach. And we were actually with maybe, I think there were 15 divers with us, because we were welcoming a group from the United World College, Singapore, who were coming to learn how to dive, and then they do conservation work with me. And so they were learning about coral propagation and how to make a coral nursery. My gloves and my net bag are always with me, and I also dive with tweezers, so I can take the Drapella snails out. And they are really bad predators for corals. They eat the polyps. Not as bad as the crown of thorn, but they're much smaller, so they go deep in the corals. So you have to take tweezers if you want to take them out of the table, branching and things like this. So anyway, all those students from UWC were learning how to propagate coral and how to make a nursery. And if you want to make a coral nursery, according to the Ocean Quest method, you need rubble. So you need broken corals and dead corals. So because you're going to build a nursery from quite big and small broken coral, so calcium carbonate skeleton or aragonite. And anyway, you're going to stack them into a nursery. The first you start at maybe 5 meters long and 2 meters wide, so you can work from the side rather than passing over the nursery. And then you call them the live rocks, those actually dead corals from a long time ago. And you stack them all together so it's maybe above 25, 30 centimeters from the ground. That's the height of the nursery, just by putting lots of rubble all together. And then you're going to save some of those live rocks that you're going to bring to the shallow water in the sand, so it's available for you from the beach. Then with the kids, we were going to find the corals we wanted to propagate. So we go for diving, look at the turtles, but also to find some broken live coral. Any live coral can break from, I don't know, from fins, people kicking everywhere, or anchors, or just by storm or current. Sometimes a branch will come off, and mostly when you have a seabed which is full of rubble, nothing is stable. Corals, they don't have roots, so they're just going to start growing onto a dead piece of coral, because it's their best substrate, it's calcium carbonate. But as soon as they got resistance against the water, then they might get flipped over, being upside down or rolling down the slope. So we were trying to look for one, and I think in my mesh bag there was a Ziploc bag with some of those, 1 or 2 of those corals. Then we bring them quickly back on the beach, and then we have some big buckets there, so we put the coral into it without being out of the water, so it's not stressed. And then we have to work quite fast in cutting that piece of coral in very small pieces, like 1 centimeter, and then gluing it onto one of those live rocks.
What kind of glue are you using? Is it like real glue, like contact?
Yeah, you use like super glue, the acrylic glue, like that. What you use it. That's the same when if you don't want to have stitches and you get a cut, you use the same glue.
Oh, okay.
So it's okay for your body. It's okay for the corals. But then the prof, Anwar Abdullah, or the guy who did all this method, he created his magic potion, and he calls it the coral catalyst. So we cut the coral a tiny bit, maybe 1 centimeter long, that we're gonna put onto one of the live rocks. We put the glue, then the piece of coral, and then we use a little pipette or syringe to put some coral catalyst on top. And the coral catalyst is basically freezing the glue. So the glue is straight away becomes white and glue the coral well. And then in the coral catalyst, there's also all the magic potion ingredients that nobody is supposed to know. But what it does, it helps the coral. It's like a natural antiseptic, and it will not only freeze the glue, but help the coral to survive those first stages of being cut and putting into a new place. And so once it's that, straight away you can put the live rocks with the baby coral back into the water, back into the sand area where you put all of them there. And then once all the live rocks are ready with their baby coral, you dive again to bring all those live rocks on top of the nursery.
Oh, wow.
And then you're going to monitor your nursery and well stacked, so they're not going to be turned over or anything like this, or to see how many of those coming into the nursery, because they start feeling, oh, it looks like a nice place and lots of baby coral growing. And so you see the army of parrotfish and surgeonfish and damsel coming to clean all the algae. So you make sure they are here, or you call them if you need to get them to clean the algae. And the wrasse as well are coming. Anyway, so then in few weeks it will create an ecosystem, and then you keep on monitoring the nursery. And then another group comes, another group of kids come, and you can teach them to propagate from the nursery. So this time we're not looking for a loose coral, but we're going to cut one bit of a coral, a baby corals, and been growing. When it's got the stage of like being a teenager, maybe hand size for a branching coral, so it doesn't reach sexual age, and that's when the coral lose a lot of energy. So that coral is going to stay a teenager and focusing its energy in growing and being happy. And so that's the one you're going to cut, and then you can propagate either on another nursery to create another reef, or in the natural reef.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. You've given us a crash, or you've given me a crash course in propagating.
I gave all the course away.
It's quite amazing.
I think I heard you now.
Now, is it a little bit better?
Yeah, now it's a bit better.
Okay, so over the years that you've been doing this, has there been improvement? Have things only been getting worse? Like, what is the status today?
Since I'm here, I'm going to speak locally because I'm quite pessimistic in globally in the state of coral reef. But here we can see the result of our action, and it's pretty positive because we've got 150 biorock reefs, we've got 5 coral nurseries to propagate all over around, and we're teaching. There's like an agreement between all the dive shops in Gili, not only a price agreement, but how they should teach their students how to dive and control the buoyancy. And then I get more and more groups of kids and people and interns and volunteers coming to learn about the different technologies we use to restore coral, but also how to help on every dive with reef gardening. That's how we help the coral as well. And the same way the biorock method, the coral propagation will work is like a broken bit of coral, and I can always be saved as long as it's still partially alive if you find a nice place to put it. So yeah, and when we started the biorocks in 2004, 2005 actually, end of 2004, quite straight away after I arrived on the island, not being bored of teaching diving, but wanted to do more and use my salary to say thank you to the ocean or the reefs. One of the first grants we got was actually for the sharks and manta rays for the market. It was from Project Aware, and we've got a horrible market in Lombok called Tanjung Luar, and that's where most of the shark and rays catch come from the east of Indonesia all the way to Australia.
Oh, wow.
So we had a 2 year, we had a grant for 2 years and studying how many sharks, which species, male or female size, and then the mobula devil rays and manta rays. And then we did a press conference in Jakarta. And after that, we got threatened, so we stopped. Anyway, we had our numbers and our study, so we didn't need to do more of the research. Now sometimes we bring interns or volunteers to the market, but I don't always go because I see some of those faces who don't really like me. So yeah, and it's all like a Chinese mafia. It's not even the Indonesian people, the fishermen or the people from that village. They don't get anything.
Right.
There's no waste management. There's no better school, no better clinic. There's just nothing. Everything goes into another market, but nothing stays locally. As the head of the village will say there, the only thing that stays is the smell. So yeah, and it's a horrible smell.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.